Our speaker is Dr. Steve Aquilani, who holds a PhD in biology from the University of Mississippi, a master's in biology from Ball State University, and a bachelor's in biology from Indiana University of Pennsylvania. He's published, authored, or co-authored over 28 professional articles. He's a member of many prestigious academic societies, and he won the Gould Award in 2003. Students picked him the most prestigious teacher for demonstrating excellence in the classroom and impacting the life of students. That really is the highest compliment from the students you serve. So without further introduction, Dr. Steve Aquilani.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for coming out this morning. Before I begin, I want to give an overview of our talk today. And Sid's put together a pretty neat STEM speaker series where they bring researchers and other people in science to talk about their work. And I want to do something a little bit different that was more student-centered and give an overview of maybe how to better advise yourself as an undergraduate. So the first part of my talk is just distinguishing between ecology and environmental science as separate yet interrelated disciplines. So the focus is going to be on how are they different and how are they related to one another. And then we're going to discuss some pathways for undergraduates to consider in terms of what are potential career options based on certain academic credentials that you might earn and places where you theoretically could work in careers in ecology and environmental science. I'm going to share some job outlook stuff that I found online. And the second part is specific to undergraduates and just some insights, and it's a product of my experiences as an undergraduate and grad student advising students for 15 years or so here, and just resources that I find online about strategies that undergraduates might want to consider that are going to increase their probability of success as either they move on to graduate school or make them more marketable in careers. And this part of the talk, even though it's going to be specific, the references that I'm going to show, the websites, the resources, which when we get to them in the talk, every link that I show, I have written out here. So if anyone's interested in any of those, just you can pick this up on the way out. But many of these resources and references that I'm going to talk about, they're specific to ecology and environmental science. But many of the strategies I'm going to talk about are relevant to anyone interested in pursuing a career in the biological sciences, focusing things, not just how we properly academic advise ourselves, but how do you seek out opportunities as an undergraduate that's going to make you more marketable by undergraduate advisors. Put feathers in your cap, little things that are going to go with you and increase your probability of success. So let's get started then with the specifics. So what is environmental science and ecology? Wow, these slides. You know they say you're never supposed to apologize for a slide. I just say this slide was converted different. It says environmental science and ecology. Anyway, so how do we distinguish between ecology and environmental science as separate yet distinct and interrelated academic disciplines? First, with ecology. Ecology is best described as the study of principally non-human organisms and their interactions with the living and non-living components of their environment. So you can think of any organism, any species, any interaction they could have with any other organism of that species or other species, or any living or non-living component of that organism's environment. That's pretty much fair game for the study in ecology. Environmental science is more of an interdisciplinary field where ecologists work with other scientists, other biologists, chemists, physicists, geologists, mathematicians, economists, etc., to seek solutions to the world's environmental problems. You can think of environmental science more as the discipline that studies the interactions of humans with their environment. How do humans affect their environment, and how does the environment affect humans, human health, etc. So if we're looking at the relationship between ecology and environmental science, just how they're related to one another, the role of ecology is to help inform environmental scientists so they have information to best serve the public. But I mean, I have to say, as someone who's spent their academic preparation, studying ecology. Ecology stands alone as its own discipline. I mean, ecologists don't just work to support environmental science. There's a lot of ecological study that's purely theoretical, or ecological research that contributes to understanding of other disciplines. For example, many of us are familiar with Ebola from last year, or the fact that we live in an area where Lyme disease is prevalent. Those are both issues that, to understand how to prevent those diseases from spreading, they're ecological phenomena, and they're all related to organisms in the wild. So my focus today, though, is going to be on how ecology and environmental science sort of work together. What do ecologists, environmental scientists do? So I can't do this justice in an hour, can't do it justice probably in a semester, but we're just trying to give you this broad overview of what they study. And like we said earlier, it's interactions. They're charged with studying the interactions between organisms, and that can be at any level of biological organization. So I look around the room, I see some familiar faces. So many of us had a general biology class, and we learned about the structure, the hierarchy of life, how life is organized, from the smallest units. Okay, life is chemistry, everything's chemistry. Okay, atoms come together to make molecules that living things are built out of. Proteins, lipids, nucleic acids. These molecules come together to make cells. Cells build organs and organ systems, which make individuals. Those individual organisms organize themselves in populations, which are defined by a specific area, a group of individuals of one species. Those populations come together to make what are called communities. For example, like here's a little community of organisms on an African savanna. There's interactions on those levels. Communities come together to form what we refer to our ecosystems, and those ecosystems form our biosphere. So pretty much at any level that you can study life, ecology is studied. For example, at the molecular level, there are ecologists who study the impact of the environment on the endocrine system of animals. Either molecules in the environment, stressors in the environment that affect an animal's hormone system. That can affect their behavior, affect their ability to reproduce, affect population dynamics, affect community structure. Microbial ecology, looking at bacterial or cellular organisms, like the microbes in a salt marsh that do most of the primary production, making sugars. Microbes in our soil that affect soil fertility for agriculture. So I can't give an all-inclusive list of all these things, but at the population level, studying things like population dynamics, growth rates, death rates, what are the carrying capacities of populations? How do these organisms interact? I mean, that's when you get to these neat levels and increasing levels of complexity. Predator-prey dynamics, competition, biodiversity concepts. Ecosystems get even more complex because ecosystems are some of the communities and they actually have functionality. They're more than the sum of their parts. Where we see these broad double ecosystem functions like the cycling of nitrogen, carbon, primary production. So again, I can't really do this justice, but I like this diagram because it gives us this insight that it doesn't matter what level of biology you might be interested in, theoretically contribute to ecological studies. It's showing that all science, biology is interrelated. So what are the types of things, the specific things that ecologist does? And this is very, very broad in general because ecologists do hundreds of thousands of different things. But in general, all ecologists should be conducting some type of research, whether it's theoretical, testing theories, okay, something like, why does a male cardinal look different from a female cardinal? That's a theoretical construct, okay? What are the reasons? How did these things evolve? Practical research, a lot of the research, for example, that I did for the Forest Service. If the Forest Service intentionally burns a habitat, what's the effect on the plants? What's the effect on the bird communities in there? So different levels of research, different types of research, but all scientists, all ecologists, all biologists have to communicate their research by writing articles, giving presentations, developing impact statements. Ecologists help to monitor and manage and restore ecological populations. They apply their research to develop sustainable practices, and for some reason, this is getting truncated here, so there's a list. So the last line said they contribute to the solution of our world's environmental problems. So I just sort of made a list here. What are some of the things that environmental scientists are charged with today? And again, can't do these justice, but you figure something like sustainable management of the world's fisheries. That's a dynamic where to truly understand how to best manage the world's fisheries, you need information not just from ecologists. Look at population levels and interactions of fishes, different species of fish. But what are the economics? What about cultural considerations? What about other areas? So to solve environmental problems, you need this confluence of backgrounds of information so that you can get appropriate solutions so we can sustainably manage and persistent with our environment. The type of things that environmental scientists do, they do a lot of the same things that ecologists do. They conduct research, but the research and work that an environmental scientist would do is more specific to the environmental factors that affect human health and the things in the environment that humans affect. So collecting samples and compiling data on environmental variables like air quality, soil quality, etc. Not only do they are charged with collecting these data, they're often the ones who develop protocols to effectively assess different environmental variables. They analyze these samples to identify and assess threats to the environment and human health. They're responsible for developing plans to mitigate, to control, to prevent environmental issues. They provide guidance to government officials, policymakers, businesses, the general public on environmental hazards and risks, and they prepare research reports and technical reports and presentations and publications, just like ecologists do, to disseminate their information. So think about some of those skills that ecologists, environmental scientists must possess. I mean, they're the same for any biologist and pretty much any scientist. Strong analytical skills, strong mathematical skills, the application of mathematics to solve complex interactions, complex dynamics, excellent reading, writing, verbal communication skills. So these are the kind of skills, the skill set that you possess these kind of things, your career in the sciences might be in your wheelhouse, and if not, they're the things that all of us have to constantly perfect and engage in. And in the second part of the talk, I'm going to refer to some of those things in terms of how do you seek out opportunities to get better in those skills. Now this grid I'm really fond of, and I actually took it from a web page. So a lot of these resources that I'm going to show are coming from academic societies. This graph here came from the Ecological Society of America. One of the things I'm going to show you later is one of the best ways to find out about careers is to investigate different academic societies that support research in different areas of biology. And in this grid, what you see is on this axis are the credentials that one could earn, the student could earn. So an associate's, if I earn a bachelor's, a master's, it gives a rough idea of the time after high school that it would take to achieve these academic credentials. On this axis are the sectors where one could work relative to having degrees in these fields. Okay, so it's a pretty busy diagram, but I don't think the details in terms of what does this profession do. This one is as relevant today as looking at the overall trend. Earning credentials, earning degrees opens up doors. It opens up opportunities, and pretty much the greater level of academic credentials one possesses, it opens up more doors. And this is one of the things when I advise students, I'm always I always mention this, is that we often can't plan our academic, our career future. The best thing we can do is prepare ourselves to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves. So for example, earning a master's degree would prepare you to take advantage of some of these careers, assuming that those jobs are available. As we move on, I'm going to talk about other things that you'd want to do in terms of academic preparation aside from just taking classes to increase your probability of success. One thing I won't talk much about is when you look at these levels, master's and doctor of philosophy, earning a PhD, many of the strategies I'm going to talk about in the second part of the talk in terms of how do you prepare yourself as an undergraduate are things that would make you marketable to earn what are called assistantships for graduate school, which means that if you were to earn one of these, you're not paying for graduate school. You're probably going to receive what's called a stipend. So you see that there are all of these cool pathways that one can pursue as they're going through their academic future. And I share a little anecdote. When I look at this, it brings me back to when I was in college. Because when I was in college, I remember when I made the choice to become a biology major, it was a little bit scary because you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that there are possible careers that you can possess if you had a master's, a PhD. You just don't know what that is. So it's sort of, you take this leap of faith, I think, a lot of times in the sciences when you pursue these, because you might not know where you could work, the specific job you're going to have. But again, acquiring credentials, and then these, I'm going to refer to as feather in your cap. All these little skills and other activities are going to make it marketable to pursue either graduate programs or get jobs at each of those levels. Now, in terms of job outlook, a lot of times when I would look online, the job outlook for environmental scientists, ecologists is robust, it's strong. And I wanted to try to find some solid objective data. And this is something I think, if you look at the webpage, that could be relevant to everyone, regardless of whether you want to be an ecologist, to get into environmental science. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has all of these resources that give you insights of careers, average pay, type of preparation, career outlook, etc. So I simply cut these little quick fact sheets from the webpage, but just so you know that if you're interested in learning more about any career, each page has a series of tabs that links you to all these other pages of resources of how do you prepare yourself. Do they offer on-the-job training, careers in terms of salaries, etc. So, I mean, you all can read, but you see that the job outlook for environmental scientists is pretty robust. It should be faster than the average in the United States. And what was neat, which I didn't realize, honestly, is that environmental science was one of the few disciplines that had a separate tab for careers at the entry level of the bachelor's, and then they're suggesting that there are jobs at the junior level. So that's a pretty neat deal to consider. And I'm actually showing you a couple of online environmental job posting sites that I just quickly perused the first 5 hits, and 3 of them were people with a background in environmental that had 2 years of college, and then other technical skills. So I think that's neat. So that might be something relevant to everyone in here. Ecologists, maybe the job outlook in terms of growth isn't very robust, but this is a little bit misleading in the sense that this is just ecologists who work pretty much for federal and state agencies. It doesn't include post-secondary educators, which most ecologists are professors. So we see the job outlook there, and then I apologize for these. This didn't look like this when I brought it in. Something about the computer. So here's another lesson. They say you should never apologize for your slides. But I'm breaking that rule. Okay. So I don't know what's going on there, but check this out. So biophysicists, biochemists. These aren't ecologists, environmental scientists. By name. These are often the people that do the analysis of a lot of these samples. And then look at the job outlook for post-secondary educators. Educators at 2-year schools, 4-year universities, very robust. So often these pathways that you can follow to earn the credentials to get these jobs, a career in ecology and environmental science, it could be a way to pursue a graduate program to open up those doors. So that's pretty much the first half in terms of what is ecology in general, what is environmental science. And in terms of the second part, what are some of the bits of advice that I would have in general for students interested in a career in ecology and environmental science? So this is pretty much a product of how I tend to advise students who come to me and say, hey, this is what I'm interested in ecology or biology in general. I have a few slides after this, but here's the big lesson. Don't try it alone. You can't. Nobody can pursue a career, probably in any field, by themselves. And science, I think it's even more challenging in terms of the need to get advising, in terms of being able to interact with other scientists and biologists as an undergraduate, and pretty much just getting the best advice possible in terms of how do I pursue the goals that I have. The other lesson is you have to be proactive. All of these things I'm going to list and give you insights on aren't going to seek you out. You have to seek them out, and it takes time. These are things that require an investment of labor. So I'm going to suggest seek advising. Seek an advisor. I'm a big fan of when I have to make a decision. Think about the decision that you all make. What career do I want to pursue? What major do I want to pursue? And sometimes it's very hard to know what you want to do when you don't know all the cool things that you can do or the pathways to get where you want to get. So I'm a big fan of when you have questions, you have decisions to make to get the best advice possible. So for example, if I wanted to become a pharmacologist, I'm going to speak to people who research pharmacology. If I wanted to become a vet, I want to speak to them. So seek out good academic advising, and then the big thing for undergraduates interested in the sciences is you have to get involved. You simply can't take courses. You need to prepare yourself. And I'm going to give anecdotes why, and I'm going to show you a couple job postings, and you'll see that every job listing will say, here's our minimum academic requirements, and then here are all the technical skills we want you to have. Does that make sense? So some of these things we can glean in classrooms, but many of them in the sciences we have to get elsewhere, because there's rarely on-the-job training in a lot of these fields. And so the big deal is, how do we get involved? How do we explore these opportunities? I'm going to pass on some advice that I hope's very relevant to people interested in ecology, environmental science, but again, that has a broader interest. And the other big deal is persistence. There's a lot of things that are going to come up in everyone's academic path. It's inevitable. And they tend not to be academic. They tend to be financial or personal or other, So learning these strategies, having ideas of very clear-cut goals that could get you closer to success. These are some of the strategies that would allow you to be successful. So let me show you some things here. Again, all of these links that I'm showing here in terms of academic support here at the college, I have on this sheet that we can hand out. But I think it's essential for all students to develop a plan for success so that they have an idea of, why am I here? What am I taking classes for? What is my immediate goal in terms of my academic credentials? So to do that, academic advising is essential. To select a proper major, proper sequence of courses. On the next couple slides, I'm going to get very specific to community college students in the sciences, because I think as a community college student, you have a degree of difficulty, a multiplier in terms of difficulty, because when you look at our programs, I'll show you our mathematics, natural science. That's a broad program designed to help students get into career in chemistry, biology, etc. So at a community college, it's in your best interest to have a very good idea, not just the major I want at this community college, but what do I want to transfer? What major do I want to transfer as? Because then you can cater your time here, not just to earn your 2-year degree, which is important, because that's going to open up doors. But how do you cater your time here so that you most efficiently transfer and are successful there? So the importance of academic advising, transfer counseling. I'm going to show a couple slides that underscore these concerns and why, again, it's so important to have an idea, not just what you want to do here, but what do you want to do when you transfer. And then these other two that I'm not really going to elaborate in much detail, except for what we see here in the sense of colleges have all these other resources aside from just academic counseling, or in this case, at the Delaware County Community College, transfer counseling. We're all different in terms of where we're starting, in terms of our academic preparation. Some are stronger students. Some might not be. So there are personal counseling services here on our college. How do you develop note-taking? How do you develop time management strategies? Because I think that's a big deal for many of us in terms of how we effectively manage our time. Coping with stress or other interpersonal dynamics. I mean, anything that theoretically could be an impediment or an obstacle to pursuing your career, knowing ways to either adapt or strategies to deal with those issues is important. And there's services here and where you're ever going to transfer that help you to do that. And then financial aid, making sure that you're aware of the financial aid that you have available to you, whether it be grants or loans or work study, because often work study is a nice pathway to earn some financial aid and get experience in a certain field. So this is small, but it's irrelevant because I'm not showing these advising tools so today you can be advised in terms of the courses, but this is copied from the course catalog. So if you were a major here at Delaware County Community College in the sciences, what's probably most appropriate is that you're a math natural science major. If you read the descriptions, our math natural science major is designed for transfer to career biology, chemistry, math, ... Okay? And so to get this 2-year degree here, you can populate your courses you take here with a wide variety of courses in terms of lab sciences, humanities, social sciences, etc. Okay? When you're ready to select classes, my opinion, is you sit down with an academic counselor, and before that, you have a very good idea of where you want to go after you. And that's hard because you might not know where you can be accepted or where you might want to continue your studies. But let me show you a couple things here. And I'm picking these online resources simply because of how they look online. So I have no vested interest in East Stroudsburg, but preparing for this talk, and I spent a lot of time looking at what a lot of our transfer schools have for their biology curriculum. So imagine you want to be a biology major here, regardless of where you want to go, whether it's Westchester, Penn, Drexel, East Stroudsburg, another school in another state. Look over here in this left tab. If you want to be a biology major at East Stroudsburg, look at all the options you have for concentrations. You could be just a basic biology major, BA, BS, concentration, secondary education, animal behavior. This is like the ecology, okay? If you click on each tab, you're going to see that the types of courses that you're expected to take will differ. They'll differ slightly. So that's important to know. You know, what are my math requirements? Do I have to take organic chemistry 1 and 2? Do I just have to take organic chemistry 1? Do I need calculus 1? Do I need calculus 2? This is something that is impossible, I think, for any counselor to sit there and give you that good advice. But if you have an idea of where you want to go, you can cater your time effectively here. We can look at this biology curriculum. I know there's a lot, you know, in terms of Bio 1, Bio 2. So Bio 1, Bio 2 students, you're all safe so far. If you look, you know, and for this general concentration in biology, organismal ecology, your calculus sequence, physics sequence, general chemistry sequence. But if you wanted to major in environmental science, you also have an array of choices. And look at how an environmental science degree is different from the basic biology degree. So your required courses in the concentration in the biology are different. The chemistry expectations are slightly different. And they don't have to take calculus 2. So it's very important to have a really good idea, I think, of where you might transfer. Now, in terms of our general biology majors, here at Delaware County Community College, Sandy DeBenny, a professor here, sort of developed this sample biology curriculum. This is trying to figure out what would be just this one suggested course sequence that might improve a student's ability to transfer as easily as a junior as possible. So again, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that if you're interested in getting this, I can send this information. But if you look in general, the types of courses you want to take, making sure you're getting your chemistries, the organic chemistries, the physics. But again, see your advisor so you get a really good idea of how to craft your schedule. Man, this is annoying. I just want to move the picture because it's covering. Anyway, that's a bummer. So the last part is how do we explore, I can't remember what that says, exploring careers in ecological and environmental sciences. So what are some strategies that I'd have for undergraduates who are interested in pursuing some of these careers? I'm going to use an idiom that my undergraduate advisor, this guy at IUP, his name's Tony Nastes, he's retired now, he tells me all the time, you have to get feathers in your cap. I don't care what your GPA is, you need feathers in your cap. And I didn't get it right away. I share an anecdote with my students in class, I'm not going to share here. But I had to learn that you truly do need feathers in your cap to increase your probability of success in terms of finding jobs or getting to grad school. So your classes are going to teach you about the curriculum, and some classes might be better than others in terms of how you develop certain skills, but think about the things that one must do to study ecology, environmental science, or any field of biology. You need specific skills. So developing these skills in real-world settings is important. So seeking out research opportunities, internships, whether they're volunteer, paid, co-op programs, or seeking these out in a transfer school. Is the school I transfer, do they encourage undergraduate research, things like that. I'm going to talk about a field course we developed here, and almost every state school that I looked at has field courses in biology, field botany, field zoology. Taking field courses that are designed to do exactly what we're talking about, introduce some of these skills that scientists would utilize in the field. If you could present, publish, or somehow disseminate and do research, I mean, that's a huge feather in your cap that would show either a grad program or an employer this person not only walked the walk, did the work they needed to do, but also talk the talk, walk the walk, whatever, that they did, and they disseminated it so that they're showing that they have all of those skills. Attending conferences, academic conferences. I could share anecdotes about this all day, how it's benefited me. I found my master's advisor and PhD advisor at 2 separate conferences by giving presentations, one as an undergraduate, one as a master's student. In the business world, they often talk about establishing contacts and connections, and literally that's important. And again, developing your writing, analytical, your interpersonal skills. And these are the kind of skills that the only way to develop them is to do them. The only way to become a better writer is to write. The only way to develop analytical skills is to analyze stuff. Okay, so why are these things important? First, it gives us a feel of the day-to-day work that we're going to do. Okay, and I really want to try to give you a better idea of how what does an ecologist do day to day, or environmental scientists do day to day. But it's just so variable. But I can tell you from personal experience that sometimes students will get out in the field and it isn't what they expected. I'll talk about some of the research that we did with students in Belize on coral reefs, and that sounds like the coolest place to hang out and do research, right? Coral reef in the tropics, 80-degree water. Most students complain. I'm tired. It's wet, which I love. I'm wet. Anyway, so the field might not be fun. And check when I show you a couple of the position announcements. If I get to show you a couple, I'll show you at least one. Almost everyone in ecology, environmental science says tolerate field conditions, tolerate bugs, you know what I'm saying? Because you're out in nature often. And the other reason that this is essential, in addition to just getting the feathers in your cap, getting a feel for do you want to do this kind of work, or don't want to do this kind of work, it allows you to establish contacts, which is essential in any field, whether it's for writing a reference or gateways to opportunities. Another anecdote I can share is when I was a graduate student, I had 5 different research assistants I was able to hire from grants. I know that 3 of them went on to careers in ecology, environmental science. One is an IT dude. The other, I have no idea what she did. She worked with. One of them, who helped me when I was a PhD student, worked for my PhD advisor. Because my PhD advisor was kind of, I can work with this guy, he's smart. So these are the kind of things that we're trying to encourage. So how do you seek out experience? Take appropriate coursework. How do you know all the cool things you can do until you've been exposed to them? So I often tell students when they come to me, hey, I know I'm interested in ecology, or I know I'm interested in health science, I know I'm interested in pharmacy, but I don't know what I want to do. And I just sort of relax, take time, take classes. By your sophomore, hopefully by your junior year, you get a better idea of what you might like. But again, try to challenge yourself to take some of these courses or get field experiences. Talk with your professors or work with your professors. I know a lot of students who transfer, become successful in a lot of 4-year schools. They encourage undergraduate research. You often have to seek out those opportunities. Working with a professor. One of the things I did as an undergraduate is I found out that I needed research experience. So I started sending off letters for graduate school and not getting replies. I realized that I needed to do a little bit more work. I worked out a deal with a graduate student. I said, hey, I'll help you in the field. And any data we collect together, we'll publish together. And that helped me out a lot. So again, there's not one pathway. We can't, have one pathway that's going to fit everybody, but just some of the things that you might want to think about, okay? Seeking out other research experiences, whether they're during the academic year or in the summer, I think are essential to really improve your probability of success. Where do you search for them? Anywhere you can find them, but seek out opportunities when you transfer at a 4-year school with the professors there. They're all doing research. Graduate students. The big thing that I think is going to be relevant to everybody in here, regardless of your field that you want to get into, is that academic societies will have job postings, job listing postings online. And academic societies are these groups of individuals in different disciplines. News, they publishes journals, they hold conferences. So I know of several students outside of Ecology who were able to take this advice and find little summer research assistantships and things outside of the state and in other areas. For example, the Ecological Society of America has their own job board. Every academic society does. And I have a personal website that my students use, and I have a whole page on the specific academic societies in ecology. Ornithology, mammalogy, things like that, and they're on that sheet as well. So this one right here is a very neat organization, the Student Conservation Association. It's designed exclusively to provide research opportunities for undergraduates. So let's say someone is looking for technicians to hire in the field, they'll post, hey, I have a field assistant position open. And this is an outstanding resource and very user-friendly. I'm glad I have the sheet because there's 3 things down here. Look at any federal and state agency, because all of those agencies have their own websites that have career job boards, etc. So this is busy. A lot of stuff here, but I was able to compile some of these on my own, and some came straight from ESA, Ecological Society of America's website, and another website. Just some of the job postings that I thought, if a student was interested in ecology, environmental science. But on these job postings, there'll be jobs for undergraduates, professionals, so they're all of these levels. I was searching this one this morning, the Environmental Careers Organization. And this is what I saw. So So this is what the site looks like when you open it up. And they're all pretty much user-friendly. And there are tabs here you can search jobs, but I just scrolled down to the latest jobs that were posted and just clicked on a few. And I clicked on this one, that Cox Island Field Steward. You can check it out. So I remember when I was an undergraduate and grad student, I would often check out these job postings just to have an idea of what's out there. Are there any things that could be available for me right now? And also, it gives you an idea of, if you're a grad student, what kind of credentials should I have to get a job in this field or in that field. So if you look at the minimum qualifications, high school diploma, 1 year training, okay? Now these are seasonal, okay? And they're short-term, full-time positions, okay? But again, for an undergraduate who's interested in getting some experience, might not be in the area you want, but there are literally thousands of these different postings on those, just a few sites that I have listed here. All right. Now the last part is just something that I wanted to talk about, is a course that I developed here at DCCC to introduce students to some of these techniques that we're talking about. So this is a course that's purely experiential in nature. So we learn about aspects of ecology, but everything is experiential in nature. And we're offering it this summer. So here's the dates. I think registration started this week. So if anyone's interested, you can come see me for more info. But let me give you an idea of some of the things that we do. The big part of the course is learn how to do science. That's what the course is about. Bring out the first half of the course teaching you the different ways that you can do science in the field, and then the second half of the course, don't hurt yourself. Go do science in the field. So there are other aspects that we look at, and this is available online. But when we just look at this first competency, testing hypotheses, you learn how to design an experiment. You learn how to conduct the experiment. You conduct the experiment. You analyze your data. You present your data. Pretty much, you run the full circle of what a biologist would do. Here's some pictures. It's a neat course in the sense we go away for a couple days. It's only 3 weeks because we spent 2 days away in Virginia, because this course replaced a course I used to teach in Belize that had a marine component. And if we're going to do a marine component, we can't do that here. So we go down to Wallops Island, Virginia, where students can learn some sampling techniques, how to research various environmental living and non-living factors in the environment. We learn about dune ecology, beach ecology, intertidal zone ecology. One of the primary reasons I take students down to Virginia is because we get access to Wallops Island. You're not allowed on this island. It's a NASA base, and you need permits to get on there. And you guys, when you walk down on the beach down in Ocean City or Cape May or wherever you go, you see these several 100-foot long dunes and a beach that's loaded with plants, and behind that, scrub habitat with pine trees behind it. No, because they're gone. They're not there. We get to see what a natural barrier island should look like. And you learn about that these communities are more than the sum of their parts. They have functionality. They build the beach. They hold the beach together. Things like that. So we learn in this really neat area. To bring back memories, Alex, we have some people here, and I thought I'd put the picture of you in there. So this is one of my favorite parts. Learn how to sample in salt marshes. Do soil samples, sampling organisms. That's you, Alex. That's Alex pulling out all kinds of small organisms. We learned about animal identification, sampling techniques of plants and animals. I think it's neat to learn these things, and if you wanted to do field work, that would be something you can apply. And I get permits to trap birds, and I love it. This is one of my favorite things to do. You never know what's going to find in that. It's fun. But if you wanted to assess the population dynamics of the bird, what's up? Question? Okay. I've never killed one. Who said kill them? That's your job. When you catch birds,
it looks dead right there.
This one. No, that's another bird. Look, its eyes are open. I deny everything. Plant ID, plant sampling techniques. So again, the first part of the course, you're instructed. How do you set up these things? How do you do them? And then invertebrate sampling techniques, identification, all hands-on stuff. We also do a group research project, and this is the stuff that was really neat. This apparatus here is about a 20-foot bird feeder that an engineering student I built. Okay, he's at Drexel now. And this is we're on our 4th year of collecting these data, and it's in essence an artificial version of a classic studied ecology by this classic ecologist, Robert MacArthur, that studied niche dynamics in coniferous trees. So I was just like, well, how do we bring the birds to us? We can create our own artificial feeder and see how these animals are separating and segregating themselves spatially. It's very cool, I think, because it's really neat, because this almost isn't, I should say, this isn't field biology. When students are sitting, sipping their coffee. In air-conditioned, not in Mississippi, 95 degree, anyway, this is awesome. So one little follow-up. We have a student, Allison Devaney, who just graduated from Westchester. She's presenting one-year data that she collected at an academic conference this summer. So it's pretty cool where we can take advantage of these things. Students do independent research projects. Here we go, Alex. Lily, so these are all students, and this warmed my heart last year, is that the students came up with such cool projects. I honestly believe that every project that my students did last year in this course, maybe a little bit more data, or maybe standalone, theoretically, definitely are presentation worthy. Some of them could be the foundation of some neat studies. This is Alex and Lily, literally just counting the number of invasive species around our pond. And there's reasons why that's important. Assessing water quality on our campus, assessing invertebrates on our campus, looking at these ecological dynamics. And then the last part, just to give an idea of what you potentially can do with these kind of activities, if you take the initiative, is all of this research that I've engaged students in started when I used to teach this course in Belize. This is just a special place not to take advantage. And one of the things I noticed after years of going there is that the coral reefs on the island we stay, we're disappearing, literally in front of my eyes. And I was just like, well, let's document it. So over a 3-year period with 3 different groups of students, we collected these data, and I just published it a few years ago. If you just look here, we just simply showed that over a 3-year period, the amount of living corals that are 100% alive decreased about 6%. The amount of totally dead corals, the amount of coral rubble increased So, I mean, this is something that if you got online or read more about coral ecology, it is a worldwide phenomenon that the world's coral reefs are disappearing. And I could do an hour easy on this. Why they're so important? They're essential. They are essential for marine health. You cannot have healthy marine ecosystems or coastal ecosystems without coral reefs. This one, just to share, just give you an idea that you'll get out of things when you put into them. Is this student? This was the first publication that a student had from that course. This is the student Anna, and she. It's a little bit dark here. There are these termites that build are called termitaria directly on trees and the leaves. I didn't know anything about them. I know nothing about termites. She found 10 of these. That was her research project, and just figured out where they were on the trees. And I was like, geez, Anna, they're all on the north side of the trees. Get 30 of them, because there's a statistical test called a Raleigh test that can analyze circular data, but you need a sample size of about 30. So the last day of the course, all her friends are celebrating that they're done learning. She went out on her own and found these with a guide and I, and we came back. And what was neat is I found out that this species of termite is invasive in Florida. And we were able to publish this, or I was able to write this up because land managers would care about this. Because where these termitaria are found on trees could help land managers more efficiently search for them. And the other thing I found is the north side. Can anybody think about why the north side of a tree would be good to build your nest on? And here's one big thing that termites care about when they build these mounds. Heat is problematic. They build these little natural air conditioners. Well, we're in the tropics, but we're still north of the equator. On the north side of a tree, there's more shade, because on the south side, there's always sunlight. So there were two aspects that we were able to publish it under, is that they might be doing this to mitigate for thermoregulatory processes, and that it might have some application. So again, these are the kind of things. I hope these last couple of examples here helps give a better idea of the things that somebody can do. So that's what I have. Questions or?
We've got time for a couple of questions. Take advantage.
What's up, Danielle?
You were talking earlier about grad school and getting assistantship or like a stipend. Is that available for people who want a master's degree, or would that be just for PhD?
Yes. And the thing with masters, PhDs, just because there might be a college you want to go to doesn't mean you might be able to get there. There are a lot of resources. I know the ESA has a specific web page. It's like a 12-step process. What do you do to apply to grad school? But they are competitive, and that's why I can't really give all the details of why all the experiences are important. But let me give you an idea. Let's say you want to go to grad school, whether it's a master's or PhD. It would just be, does the department have assistantships available to support a student, or does the professor have money available to support a student? So typically, how you explore grad schools is you don't just apply. So I want to go to Notre Dame. You write letters to professors. Do you have opportunities available, things like that, and then you take it from there. So
I got an example. My older daughter, when she had her master's degree in math, she was really interested in getting a PhD in math, but really interested in ecology. And she found an ecologist at UC Santa Barbara who needed a mathematician, and that completely funded. She didn't pay a penny for her PhD, doing mathematical ecology.
So, but can you see why being in the game and being aware of what's out there? Because I don't know how she found that opportunity, but there was an opportunity. She didn't see it. How would you take advantage of it? So, I intentionally chose not to get into grad school just because that would be the next step. It was a finite amount of time. But those are the things that I would guess most of the professors here didn't pay for grad school. So, but yeah, those things are available. Any other questions? What's up, Alex?
Do you want to go to graduate school to, I cannot articulate well today, later on your practical?
So do all the presenters get this? Anyway.
If I wanted to go to graduate school and they ask for experience that I've had, how would I know what kind of experience that I've actually done in my school life? What would qualify? What would they be looking for?
Well, I think, things, research experiences or any skills that you have. Let me give you an example. Let's say I want to research fruit bats. in Costa Rica. To me, a skill that would be very germane is, do I speak Spanish? Do I know how to survey bats? Have I ever worked with bats? Have I misnetted? Have I taken blood from bats? So like typically, if I'm communicating with somebody in terms of do I want to apply in a program, I'm going to talk about the skills I have that would probably be relevant to their program. So these are the kind of things that, I mean, I'm happy to help any students one-on-one. Come see me, and I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of my job is helping students. So seek out those answers. So come see me.
Let's thank Dr. Aquilani. And if you did sign the roster, please come up and put your name and the name of the professor, if relevant, for whom you want to get extra credit.
Anyone who's interested in getting that list of resources, just feel free.
And the roster's up here.